morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Strategy and Corporate Culture event organized by the PMO community. And today I will be your host. My name is Luca Del Carlo, and I'm delighted to have you here for what promises to be an engaging and insightful event. We have curated a dynamic panel of experts who will be joining us shortly. You can see the camera as well already. These experienced professionals bring a wealth of experience and insight in the project management PMO world. So as we prepare to dive into our discussion, let me set quickly the stage by sharing a slides that sum up the PMO community journey that brought us to today's event. I promise I will be very short. So we start our endeavor on May 9th. As some of you may know, that is the first PMO International Day, where we gather to celebrate the launch of our community and have a discussion about the PMO role across various industries based on personal experiences. And driven by this excitement, the community launched another meeting after a few days, in-person event, where we discussed the PMO as a discipline. Many feedbacks and discussion from all the attendees. It was a very successful meeting and brought us to another event after more or less a month. And this time the event was an online event where we shared experiences within the PMO world and what are the needs that want about the PMO community. A lot of feedbacks, a lot of understanding what is the needs, and the most commons are about the gaps that persist in the absence of a dedicated PMO office in a company, leading mostly of the organization to fragmented project management practices, insufficient communication, and a lack of strategy alignment. And ultimately can hinder in the overall efficiency and success of projects. We, as businesses, navigate in ever-evolving landscape. The need of a structured project management office become paramount. So by gathering all these feedbacks from all these events, we took the opportunity to introspect, learn, and assess ourselves. So we regrouped, we revised our thoughts, refine our strategy, and realign our goals to better serve the community. All these brainstorming, thinking, and strategic planning led us to a successful new chapters first event that was a couple of days ago on December 5th at Beer Bistro, was called the Project Mingle. I believe on LinkedIn you've seen some posts from our PMO community. It was a lot of fun, a lot of engagement for the participants, and we were a creative and thought-provoking role play where people came all together and share insight and experience. It was a very nice and successful night. Next important milestone, as you can see soon, and I promise I will talk a few more seconds before leaving the platform to the panelists, is the book challenge. Is about the evolution of the PMO, the rise of the Chief Project Officer. You can understand we have some Star Wars fan among us, and we will hear more about this activity more in the future. As you can see, the rocket beside under me symbolize the commitment of the community to reach the stars and provide a stellar support to the community. Now, as we move into the discussion today, we are fortunate to have a skilled facilitator who will guide us through the various topics and ensure a dynamic, engaging conversation. So without further ado, let me introduce our facilitator for today's event. Please join me in welcoming Joe Fernandez. Joe, are you there?
I am indeed. Thank you very much, Luca. A stellar presentation. Thank you very much.
Very welcome. Anytime.
And you're right, tonight is super exciting with so many great panelists. And I think it's exciting because we're going to explore the intersection of strategy and corporate culture. What a topic. But it's going to be even more exhilarating because we're going to be listening to our expert panelists who will delve into the dynamic landscape of PMO staffing in the age of artificial intelligence and the pivotal role of organizational culture in fostering high-performing teams, among other subtopics. So whether you're a project manager, a PMO leader, portfolio director, business strategist, executive, chief project officer, or just someone interested in the evolving landscape of project management, tonight you will get insights from our esteemed panelists. And by the way, you can also contribute to the evolving discourse on strategy and corporate culture within PMOs. So be engaged and ask your questions and get your answers. Mind you, we only have 1 hour, so let's either keep the questions to the end, or if you have a burning question, Aina and Luca and myself will monitor the chat, and we'll ask the panelists to answer those questions if that happens. All right, agreed? Okay, good. Without any further ado, let's get started with a quick biography of each panel member, in no particular order, by the way, starting with Jennie Fowler, who is a PMO and change management leader hailing from South Carolina, and her superpower is influence and building great teams as an emotional intelligence champion. Jennie recently joined Horace Mann as the AVP of PMO. This will be the 9th PMO that she has built and or rebuilt in her 20+ years in our change management craft. Jennie was named one of the top PMO global leaders in 2022 by PMOGA. Allow me to add a little bit more about her experiences, many of which have been quarterback in roles such as CXO, senior director, manager levels. She successfully led complex project management offices, EPMO, ITPMO, and virtual PMO, IT departments, and vendor management office with portfolios containing small, medium, and large-sized projects and product teams, both Waterfall, Agile, and Scrum and Kanban. And you know, she has endless certifications such as PMP, ACP, CSM, CSPO, MPM, Project Plus, Certified Disc Coach, and training certificate with change management, ProSci-EDCA, and Kotter's change management models. I love Kotter, love those 8 steps. And that's not all. Jennie's awards include, I think I mentioned, she was named one of the top PMO global leaders in 2022 by PMOGA, but also she's been a speaker for the PMO Impact Summit in September 2019, 2020, 2021, 22, and upcoming 23. Also been a PMO Strategies podcast guest in 2020 to 2023, multiple podcasts, mind you. Also a speaker for Gartner's PPM Summit in June 2019, and also she was featured in Lee Stevens' book, Unlocking the Opportunity, how over 150 women navigated their careers in project management, released June 2020. All right, so let's give a big welcome, but please hold your applause until I introduce the rest of the panelists. So next we have Dr. Tony Prensa. Dr. Prensa is a highly skilled, highly accomplished executive and leader of Project Management Office, PMO, Project Portfolio Management, Information Systems and Technologies, combines a doctorate in organizational leadership with a major in Information Systems and Technologies. He's also a certified PMO professional, authorized PMO instructor, certified PMP, and ITIL 4 certification with extensive experience managing and overseeing large information systems, projects, programs, strategic planning, and seamless IT implementations. Dr. Prensa is adept at re-engineering business processes, change management, and IT infrastructure with business visions to drive profitability, efficiency, and growth within the organization. Proficient at ensuring all processes comply with regulatory requirements and IT governance practices. He's also an excellent communicator with strong influencing and problem-solving skills, strong leadership skills, and demonstrated ability to lead team members and external business contacts, including stakeholders such as consultants, partners, and vendors. He's got a demonstrated track record of delivery of multiple technical and business projects on time and within budget. He has taught project management in several universities in the country, including Virginia Technical University, Grand Canyon University, Colorado Technical University, University of Phoenix, and currently teaching for Walden University. With more than 25 years of teaching experience in various formats, face-to-face and virtual, Dr. Prensa has developed techniques to connect with learners and students in the most efficient way. And I like what he has also included, how he has extraordinary people skills, and he always puts people first. All right, so let me move on to our third panelist, Jason Orlosk. Jason, forgive me if I didn't pronounce that last name, Orlosk. Is that how I say it?
Orlowski.
Orlowski, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Close.
All right. Jason's a transformational project portfolio and PMO leader with over 20 years of experience across a diverse range of industries, including healthcare, technology, biotech, retail, legal, and regulatory and construction. Jason has led and consulted for several PMOs, from a small 3-person team to a 95 million project portfolio. Jason is currently a management consultant, partnering with clients to solve their biggest problems and capitalize on their greatest opportunities. Can I be your client, Jason? Jason lives in Fargo and enjoys outdoor activities, competing in running, biking, and triathlon events. He was just telling me how nice it is out there today. And then finally, in lieu of not having Peter Boton-Mihok, and he sends his regrets, unfortunately, there was an emergency. In his place, we have yours truly, Aina alive, who will sit in as a panelist. And as you know, she's an experienced agile and business consultant with a decade of experience in driving business transformation across diverse industries, also recognized as a member of the Forbes Coaches Council. Aina serves as a Women in Tech ambassador, accomplished best-selling author, and prominent key speaker. And of course, now she's the CEO of the PMO community, also VP of marketing. So those are our panelists, and now you can applaud and thank you, panelists, for being here, making the time to come and be part of this extraordinary information sharing event. All right, are we good? How's everybody doing? Okay, a quick sound test from the speakers, or the panelists, I should say. Everybody okay?
Yep.
Yes, perfect.
All right, excellent. So we're at 6:14. Let's get into the questions we were talking about when people have questions and they want to ask of the panelists. And please put it into the chat for now, and then we'll see how the panelists we can flag them and see how they want to tackle these questions if you have any. We want you to be engaged, of course. I'm just going to go to Aina because I introduced her last, and direct this question to her. And she has a good track record of knowing about the value of a PMO. So, Aina, as the question is displayed on the slide, how important is it for us as PMO leaders to understand the organization's strategy and corporate culture? And then the second part to that is, how do these impact a PMO's value?
Thank you, Joe, and definitely great question. So for PMO leaders and for any leaders, it's important to understand strategy and culture. And all of you know this famous phrase, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So to prevent something is eaten something, we need to understand both sides. Now, first of all, organizational strategy, because if it's not a startup, which is 1 or 2 years life, the organization has a long history. So this history shows us the success stories and unsuccessful stories and the strategy for future. So if you are a new leader or if you set up the PMO, you need to align with organizational strategy. You can't just come to the organization and set up your own world there. No, first of all, it wouldn't match the strategy. And even if your ideas are greatest ever, if they're not aligned with strategy or organizational OKRs, objective key results, you are going to create a new organization, basically. So you need to align your leadership with the strategy. And also culture. As I said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Again, no matter how good your ideas are, you need to go through the change management to be able to implement them. And to establish this change management successfully, you need to know the culture. You need to know the business units. You need to know people. You need to know teams and how they've been operating together. Because some people are new, so it's easier to change someone who's been in the organization for a few months. But some people have been working there for 10 plus, 20 plus, 30 plus years. So they definitely establish their core values and core teams and core communication, and they're owners of this culture. So first you understand the culture, second you understand the strategy, and then you help them to navigate of what they already have, not to bring something new. And how this impacts PMO's value. So again, project management office like value is to help the organization to thrive. And as I said, to help them to thrive, you need to understand, because how can I help, or how can all of you help if you don't understand?
Thank you, Aina. Yes, absolutely great. PMO is to help the organization succeed. And so, yes, strategy, definitely it's very important. And I want to now continue in that vein. And I want to, Dr. Antonio Pranza, I want to direct this question to you because you have a doctorate in organizational leadership and you're a certified PMO professional. So I'm going to direct this question to you. If we can move to the next question, Luca, thank you very much. How can PMOs bridge the gap between evolving corporate strategies and existing organizational cultures, especially when introducing new project management methodologies that may initially seem at odds with current practices?
Yeah, thank you, Joe, for the questions. So how we bridge the gap between the evolving corporate strategies and existing organizational culture. So everything's, most of the people are here, so everybody's involved in change management. So we live in a society, in a world that is constantly changing. The way that we approach when we are introducing new methodologies, new processes, new tools, AI now, is understanding how people behave, how people assimilate the changes. So the better way to serve a change to someone is to people, they need to understand what's in it for me. So sometimes I said, we are selfish. So we want to know how this change is helping me. Because most of the time we say we are embracing a new change in the organization and says it's a change for the organization, but what is the organization? Organizations are us, are the organization. We are the people that support this entity, because organization is basically a name. Organizations are built by people and supported by people. So we need to know how this change will have something for everyone in the organization. That's the best things that we're gonna have the buy-in of everyone. If I'm replacing a system, so why are you replacing the system? So there's nothing for me. So we need to demonstrate what's gonna be the value. What are we bringing that is gonna be good for those people? Most of the time that we, for example, a lot of organizations and the transition from being predictive waterfall into agile world. So most of the people, specifically at senior level, they don't understand that. So for me, it's another work methods that you are trying to introduce. That's not my problem. So how we convert this transition, this opportunity to change in something that they will understand, specifically the C-level position in the organization, they will understand. So this is something that is related to the business. It's not something that we're doing this because we love project management or we love technologies for the sake of having more technology. It's something that is attached to the business. So that is the way that we can bridge the gap of understanding the new things. And so like Jennie, that she's an expert in change management, everybody is afraid of the new thing, the thing that we don't know. So we are afraid of the change because we don't know what the value is gonna be good for me, or it's gonna be bad, or how he's gonna help me, or how he's gonna put me in a difficult situation. So communication, engagement. So we talk a lot about communication and stakeholder engagement. So we have everybody related to PMI know that we have a process of how we can engage stakeholders. So communication and participation, we give you more commitment. If I participate, if I am part of the change, know that you are imposing the change to me. I am part of the change. I'm participating actively in making the change happen. That will be the best, we say, recipe to have the buy-in of everyone in the organization. That's that I can contribute to that question.
Yeah, it's so true. You know, we are all afraid of change, and good or bad, we want to know what's in it for us. And when you had that WIFM up, the WIFM principle, I know Jennie typed that in as well, and it's Wi-Fi, FM, WIFM, my favorite radio station as well. So yeah, it's really important that we know the impact to us. So thank you, Dr. Tony França. And I want to just quickly mention, folks, that the PMO community came together, put our heads together to come up with these questions, and so it's a result of collective planning on what questions are topical these days. But we want to hear from those of you as well who have some burning questions. Please feel free to type it into the chat pod as well. I want to talk about the next subtopic, which is really dear and close to my heart, because one, I've been preparing recordings on this topic, which is high performing teams. And as a shameless plug, I just want to say that I'll prepare these recordings. So look for these episodes on the PMO community's YouTube channel in the next little while, which also has some of my colleagues' presentations or recordings as well. And I'm also interested in this topic itself because I did my undergrad in psychology, and I find it really intriguing when we talk about team behavior. I'm going to get to the question, but I just want to say that team behavior, teamwork, so important, more so now than ever, because today the bulk of modern work is more and more team-based, isn't it? As commerce becomes increasingly global and complex, it's more important, this teamwork. So we have psychologists, sociologists, and statisticians on corporate campuses and within university laboratories devoting themselves to studying everything from team composition to email patterns in order to figure out how to make employees faster, better, and more productive versions of themselves. I just want to quickly say that I remember reading this somewhere about how Google had, for example, did an extensive study on team building and found that psychological safety, more than anything else, was a group culture critical to making a team work. Now, to the question, as Jennie Fowler's superpower is influence and building great teams as an emotionally intelligent champion, I'd like to hear her response to this question, which is really two parts, sort of. Jennie, please tell us, as a senior manager or PMO leader, how does one use the culture or core values to build high-performance teams? And then the second part is, how do you use the corporate culture as a tool to bring forth and implement the strategy related to the project?
Thank you, Joe. And I want to put before I dive straight into these two questions, I enjoyed listening to you just now, and I can't wait to hear. You said there's more to come, some recordings and things of that nature that you're going to publish. So I'm looking forward to being a receiver of some of that information that you're going to share with us. So I'd like to give some tactical examples of things that I've, some nuggets that I've used in my career, and perhaps they could work for some of you, regardless of where you are in your journey, right? Because at the end of the day, people get hung up on, is it project, is it program, is it portfolio, is it Scrum, and we could keep going with words that define, that try to silo themselves when really the umbrella is change management, right? I lead a project management office, right? That's the words that we use, but what I do is I influence change, right? So this first question, as a senior PMO leader, how does one use the culture and or core values to build high-performing teams? So one of the things I do, I've rolled out in the last several project management offices, and I'm currently doing that now in the role I'm in, is I have a one-page competency matrix, right? And it's very similar of competencies, whether it be skills in one category and or competencies, aka emotional intelligence things that I think take a change leader from good to great. And then I try to go over these things once a quarter to see if we're moving from that beginner competency to that practitioner competency to that advanced competency, then to master, then expert, right? Because human resources gives you that stock evaluation template that they use all the way across the company. But what about us as change leaders? But what I also do with that particular competency matrix is I link it back to the company's core values, whether they be, a lot of times core values within a company will be that we are driving teamwork, or we are driving integrity, or we are embracing communication, what have you, those core values. So I literally tie a lot of those emotional intelligence things into our core values within a company and say, are you exuding our core values as you're out here leading change across the enterprise? Because that's important, right? It's not, core values should be more than just what is posted on a company's website, if you will, and with the visibility that often PMO leaders and or change leaders have, and the folks within those offices, I try to really, really not only read that, but be that, and have our change leaders do that. So that's a snippet and a nugget that I've done within rolling out a competency matrix within an organization. So that's part one of the slide here. Part two is, how does one use corporate culture as a tool to bring forth and implement the strategy related to the project? So that is a really good question as far as tool to implement strategy. How many times, and you can just, you don't have to literally raise your hand, but how many times do you find that a lot of times folks within the company don't know what the strategy is of the company? What are the goals? I see somebody already raise their hand. Joe, I saw you raise your hand. Luca, hands up. There's several folks, hands up. So we talked about the culture and how I try to drive culture, within the project management group. But to bring forth and implement the strategy, typically a company will have, and I think this is where some companies may not communicate very well, as far as, organizational change management or enterprise change management or what have you. How are we taking and linking those particular top strategies in the company down to the level to where the what's in it for me, right? The WIFM that Dr. Tony just talked about. So it is really real. What I try to do is put those in a sentence of one sentence. An action-taking resource that I'm about to share with you guys is not a project management framework. It is not a change management framework, but it is a good business tool to communicate at all levels, because a lot of times we fall down as change leaders and we scrape our knees because we start trying to speak PMP and PMBOK and ProSci and Six Sigma, and we want people to speak our speak because we worked hard to get this vocabulary. It's not smart neighbor speak. Let's be honest. It's not smart neighbor speak. Like if I try to explain to my grandmother what I do, she doesn't get it because it's not smart neighbor speak. So how can we break down and meet our corporate culture where they are, to where our strategy is communicated in such a way to where it is smart neighbor speak? And the action taking resource is called 4 Disciplines of Execution, 4 Disciplines of Execution, aka 4DX. And this particular business framework is put together in such a way to where all goals, aka strategies, should be able to be communicated in one sentence. one sentence, not paragraphs, not a whole charter, not a whole scope document, right? Those things might be needed later, but if I walk into a boardroom and I say, I want to put in a new change, CEO says, do you now? And I say, yes, I do. Tell me more. From X to Y by when? That is the 4DX model. Then the CEO says, tell me more. Then I tell the CEO the top 4 objectives. My top 4 objectives, still with that vocabulary of from X to Y by when, then I might have the green light to go into ideation or discovery or what have you. But a lot of times we want to walk in with our cost benefit analysis that is 34 pages. Nobody's going to read that. Let's just be honest, right? So how we can link our culture to where we are meeting people where they are to speak the language that they speak so we can get to the strategy. And you know what? I can roll out that strategy because people will remember the strategy because it's one sentence. So that's the nuggets that I have for you guys around a competency matrix, linking it back to the core values, and then getting that strategy in smart neighbor speak. 4DX is one model. There are many models, right? That's just one. So that's what I have for us today on this one.
Joe, you're muted.
Thank you, Luca. I was saying how interesting the 4DX model, very informative. Thank you very much, Jenny. I wonder if there's any questions for that piece. Anyone in the, I think I saw something in the chat. Any questions there? Before we move on, I want to just give people a chance.
I did have to write down smart neighbor speak. I haven't heard that one before, so I'm going to use that.
We get too stuck, and we worked hard to learn our acronyms and to learn our verbose vocabulary and to pass all these certifications, tests, and things of that nature. But nobody understands us in our organizations, and we are wondering why our projects fail. We are not speaking in the language they understand. So that's shame on us, right? Now, kudos to us for learning, but we need to also retrain ourselves to be brilliant at the basics. Mm-hmm. And what are the basics? The basics are being able to do baseline communications. And I think we've tripped over our own feet in our culture of change management. So we got to reel that back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think, Jason, if you want to take the next question, I want to actually the one after that, if you don't mind, Luca, and we'll come back to this one. So it's sort of in the same line of thinking in terms of organizational strategy. Jason, how does a senior manager find out what the organizational strategy or the corporate culture is in that organization in order to disseminate it to his or her team to get that buy-in that we've spoken about, get the acceptance and or adoption?
No, Joe, great question. Thank you for it. I do consulting most of the time. So in the past 10 years, all my PMO engagements, with the exception of one, have been consulting engagements. So when you hire a consultant, you want them to come in, start adding value on day one. So quickly, one of the first things I need to do is to understand what that strategy is. I make that actually my number one priority. Somebody in that organization is excited to talk about strategy because they came up with it. Their bonus is probably tied to it. There's something there that's going to make them excited to want to speak to it. The one thing I've learned about strategy is it really doesn't have any effect on organizational performance, right? Strategy is just words on paper that executives came up with probably during an offsite. It's really aligning our activities to making those strategies a reality. So that's the one thing I stress with them is my job as a PMO leader, as a PMO consultant, is to really understand what your strategy is and put plans in place, action plans in place to help you realize that and help you make your company successful. Once you're able to get that trust and that buy-in from them, they're happy to share it with you. Now, usually it comes in the form of multiple PowerPoint decks. So my first job is to, like Jennie said, get it to one sentence or get it to, just a couple bullet points, simplify it. I don't need to have percent of EBITDA over the course of so many months, right? It's, we want to increase sales by 15% by the end of the year. People can understand that. They don't want to get down to, just to a minuscule level. But that, simplifying it, kind of rolling it up, then you can give that to your project managers, your project teams, and they understand, at an individual level, me as a project team member, here's how I contribute to that bigger picture. So that's really understanding what the organization strategy is, starting to align activities to it. And then you also want to understand what the corporate culture is, because every culture is going to be different. I'll give you an example. One of my past clients, their culture was all about driving the timeline. Your scope was negotiable, your quality testing was negotiable, but that timeline, boy, you better meet that date, because that is our culture. That is what we drive for. Everything else be damned. So that is how we really were working within the confines of that culture that we were in. Is, you just drive fast, you drive hard. One thing I did tell the team, though, is, you have your corporate strategy, but you can build a strategy within your you have your corporate culture, but you can create a culture within your PMO with your project teams that is more psychologically safe, more fun, that people actually enjoy coming to. You can create almost a separate bubble within the corporate culture where people actually enjoy working on your project. So understanding what that strategy is, aligning activities to it, and then taking the corporate culture, how people like to operate, and then driving towards success. That is where I spend quite a bit of my time, at least up front, is just understanding those concepts and then working with the team.
I like that. Drive fast, drive hard.
Yeah, and I did have another one that was, and that was technology. Biotech is going to be different because biotech is all about, making sure you do it right, because we're in preclinical, especially if it's going to go into a human being, you want to make sure that the quality is high. So exactly. Quality was number one, time, scope. So everything revolves around quality. That's what their culture was geared towards. So development didn't take that long, but quality checks, that was our timeline. If they said, hey, we need more time, you got it.
Jason, thanks very much. We'll come back to some more stuff on this topic as well. By the way, a quick shout out to some people here in the participants list. John Phillip, I don't know if he's there. John's been part of our community, has played a pivotal role in getting us going. The PMO community, that is. John Phillip, I'm not sure if he's in the participants list, but also Robert Salvadorai, very experienced manager. I'm sure he's got some comments to share with us, and I look forward to hearing from him as well, Robert Salvadorai, and others in the participant list. I see that there's a few comments coming in. Aina, you also mentioned, yes, thank you, Aina, the project Aristotle, back in 2018 that Google did. Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, go ahead, Aina.
So he just shared it with me in private, and I wanted to share it to the group. So no credit for me and the participant of this meeting right now.
Okay. All right. How's everybody doing? This is good. This is good stuff. We can go on and on about culture and corporate culture. All good. Thank you, David. Okay. So, Dr. Preston, if I can just turn to you, and if we can, keep going with this corporate culture in a slightly different angle. The question is, Luca, if you can go back to that previous one, in your experience, and I know you've had a lot of this. What are the most effective ways for PMOs to influence and shape corporate culture to not only accept, but also embrace strategic changes necessary for growth, organizational growth, and adaptation in rapidly changing industries?
Yeah, so look, what I can say in my experience is, and also when I facilitating a course about PMO, so you need to behave like the CEO. You need to behave like general manager. So they have worries. So they have concerns about things in the business. So in order for you to be in those positions, and as Jennie was saying, to speak the same language. Mm-hmm. So you need to understand. You need to understand what are their worries, what are they concerned about. So when PMI say about business acumen, so a lot of people say, what is business acumen? It's that you need to know the business. So most of my experience have been in banking. I also work for retail and telecom. So it's not just the technicality of the business. If, for example, in the banking, what banks does, just open account, checking account, saving account. No, so you need to understand the industry, not only inside, but outside. I always say we live in a system, but we are parts of the ecosystem. So you need to understand the ecosystem. You need to have a broader view of the world. It's not just we say the four walls of the building. There's something else out there. And that something else out there is the concern, is the thing that concerns the senior leadership. So if I want to talk the same language, so I need to understand what are those concerns. I need to understand the market. It's not, I am an expert in project management or in technology, but I need to take that because it's more difficult for them to understand my language than for me to understand the business language. So that's basically what we need to do in order to have them. So I play golf. Every time that I play golf in any parts of the world, maybe we don't speak the same language, but the people, they see me with a set of clubs. So that's a golfer. So we connect immediately. So that connection is that we need to have in our workplace. But the thing is that I think that Jennie mentioned that it's our fault that we have, so for me, so I've been talking to many people. I would say more than 10 people, they had lost their job because the PMos had killed. So why? You had the opportunity, you were in there. So you didn't do the job to ensure that the PMO is a core business function. You didn't do your job because they say, we need to cut costs. So we are living tough time, economically speaking, everywhere. It's global. It's not US, it's not Europe. In every country, so we have living a tough time, economically speaking. Growing organically is difficult. So what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna cut costs. So who doesn't add any value? So they don't see that you are adding value. So for that reason, they cut the PMO. So, but the most thing is that we need to switch our speech, our way of working, our way of thinking to things like them. So I like to use the analogies. We need to dance the same rhythm as they dance. Otherwise, so you're gonna be stepping on the tops of the person. So that's the thing that I say. It's about engagement, it's about connection, but it's about understanding the concerns, understanding the business. Business acumen means that you need to, I was reading something that somebody wrote about the Nike culture and also Spotify. So they build an agile environment, so based on squad. And a squad in Agile means like you have the mentality that you are a startup. It's a company. So you are running the PMO as a business. So you need to generate profits. So you need to demonstrate that to the senior leaderships in order to influence and have the kind of embracing new changes that we take the organization from point A to point B. That's what I would say, and that's applied. So every organization is now, the thing is changing very fast, and we need to move faster. So that's what I would say.
You're muted again.
Yeah, you're muted.
I keep forgetting. Sorry. Thanks, Luca. Yeah, those are good points. Thank you, Dr. Tony Krasna. Very good points about having to move fast in this given state, this VUCA world we're in, this economic crisis we're facing. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody want to add to that before we move on to, I think we've got 2 more questions or so. Oh, by the way, I also wanted to say a shout out to our fellow colleague, Dmitry Zelensky, who you've met many times before. He was not unable to be here tonight, but he's also very integral to the PMO community. And I see also people in the participants from, we had this event that Luca mentioned 2 days ago, and a lot of them are there from then as well. A really good event. Natalia, I think I see. All right, so any questions? Did we have any in the chat, Aina?
We do have, but I think we answered already in text.
Okay. Okay. Good. Well, Jason, how about we come back to you, or even Jennie, when we talk about those of us aspiring to climb the corporate ladder. Let's say a senior project manager who wants to get onto the executive team. How does that person demonstrate the knowledge of the business strategy, and how do they make it clear to the delivery teams? What are some tips and tricks for that? So I'm opening it up.
Jason, do you want to take
I was going to ask you if you want to.
I'm happy to, or maybe we could tag team and do a little of both.
Yeah, we could tag team.
You go first.
I'll tell you that my first executive role that I took, the company I was at, it was a full-time employee, and I had expressed interest that, hey, I'm leading this PMO, but I want to get higher in the organization as it grows. And so I made that very clear to my boss, to my boss's boss. And so, how can I do that? And I kind of laid out some clear steps of, here's what I want to obtain within this company. And then I had the opportunity to mentor. And that mentorship was fantastic. I mentored directly with the COO. He took me to a variety of meetings. I learned how they were developing their strategy. Now, this was a company on the grow. So of the strategies, I learned about pivoting at this company more than any place else, because it was in biotech, and biotech was changing. This is pre-COVID. So there was a lot going on, but I was part of those conversations, part of the strategy, and then also leading the implementation of the strategy. So I got to see quite a bit of that vertical that was taking place. So fast forward, I eventually left that company. One of the people that I mentored with, she also left the company and became CEO of another one. And she called me up and said, hey, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm consulting, but where I'm at right now is very short term. And she said, would you like to be the VP of operations for 12 months? She goes, I've got a lot of strategies. Everything's stalled. We've had these strategies for 2 years. Nothing has happened. So that's how I got my first executive role, was because I mentored, made some very good connections, understood how strategy was developed, was then able to take that strategy and start to turn it into reality. And then, through those connections, then we're able to grow and then take on this executive role. And again, the 12 months I had as an executive then helped springboard me into the next one, because I was able to mentor with those folks too. Even though I was on the leadership team, I was still interacting with the C-levels and like, hey, how'd you come up with that decision? So learned quite a bit. But for me, it was just number one, expressing that I wanted to do this and the goal that I had. And then number two is being, finding a mentor, and then being very clear what I wanted to get out of that mentorship relationship that would help me grow.
Jennie, did you have that similar experience with the mentoring?
Yes and no. Yes and no. It's been different, because I've been, like I said, like you said at the beginning, in this is my 9th project management office. And Jason, I love what you said about, being vocal, letting folks know what your career development plan is, because your career development plan is yours. It's not up for your manager to write it for you. So I think you were saying, hey, I'm showing you what I would like to do. And so I love that. But, from a little bit different angle, I've done some podcasts and stuff on a similar topic to this, about how do you gain authority, right? If you are trying to get your seat at that table, whatever that table is, whether it's, on a steering committee or in, a supervisory group or a management group or an executive group or what have you. A lot of times people, and forgive the lack of vocabulary, this may not be the right word, but we are not, the word I'm thinking about is victims. We are not victims of, there just isn't any room for me to grow here. That may or may not be true. I think sometimes that might be a mental thing for us. And let me share with you, let me put that in context of what I mean by that. So let's say that you want to be on a steering committee. You've done some of the Jason steps. You've expressed interest, but maybe there's not a mentor for you to follow, or maybe that's not a culture that's just, accepted at your particular company or what have you. So I always try to share with people the role that you are in. And the seat that you are in, are you making yourself an A+ player in the seat that you are in, to where, nobody can deny you a seat because that is your seat, right? And a lot of times people, they want to grow and they're looking so hard forward that they lose sight of where they're sitting, and they're being maybe a B- or a C player in the seat that they are in. And then they're scratching their head going, well, this company is just not giving me any room for advancement. So I think you've got to show some vulnerability and humility in the role that you are in, of, are you being amazing in the role that you're in? And then, then there should be no reason that you shouldn't be able to roll your seat a little bit more forward, because hopefully, you would be able to progress in your career. So that's a little bit different angle, Jason, but I always try to encourage people, because I've had people, in my organizations that report to me, because I do career development plans with all of my staff. And they'll say, well, I want to get to this level and next level. And, and they'll come and we at least do quarterly discussions about their career development and their competency. And they'll say, what exactly do I need to do to get to the next level? And that winds up being I've had that in a time or two, to where that winds up being all they want to talk about. And I'm like, well, we've already discussed this. We discussed this last quarter about the things that are going forward. But, as far as the competencies that you need for the role that you're in right now, you missed the boat a little bit, right? So sometimes those are tough conversations about, again, just take the role you're in and be amazing. And then some things should follow naturally. So that's a little bit different spin, Jason, but I really liked yours as well. So that's what I have for this one.
And what you said too is make your professional development your own.
Yes.
When I have people reporting to me, I talk about career aspirations, same as you, and how do we get there? It surprises me how many people don't have a strategy for their career. So
yeah.
I just try to coach them through that.
Or they'll say, my manager hasn't done that for me. And I'm like, wait, what? You own your career. That is your career path to put together.
One thing I might just add is, and this is another area I've gained experience with, I know others too, is just nonprofits. If you can get on a nonprofit board, it's usually full of that board usually has for-profit professionals on there.
Yes.
And going to those meetings and those ideas that come around and how people think. I learned quite a bit. I'm still on 2 nonprofit boards today. And I'm surprised at what I can learn off those that I can bring to the job every day.
Great points. Thank you both, Jason and Jennie. I think that we're getting to the end, and I wanted to take some time to throw this other very topical question out and maybe ask each of you to share your comments, your thoughts. It's really about what's on everybody's mind, which is artificial intelligence. And so the question is, how does it impact PMOs? What is a specific way or example for a PMO to leverage artificial intelligence in order to drive value to executive stakeholders?
I'm happy to take this one and just be, because I'm looking at the clock and I want to be conscious of time. I think some social media is doing a disservice to the advantages that artificial intelligence is going to be able to bring us. Oh my gosh, it's going to replace us. We're all going away. I think there is a huge difference between coordinating a project, managing a project, and leading a project. And I still find that change management groups, whether it be project management offices or strategy realization groups, that those change leaders, project managers, scrum masters get trapped in a lot of the administrative work. And so they're trapped in coordinating projects, but yet the business is thirsty for them to manage and or lead projects, right? Because you coordinate tasks, you manage things, and you lead people. So we want to be able as change agents to lead people. So I would want to lean on artificial intelligence to do a lot of these administrative things for me as a change agent, leading change. I think that's a beautiful thing, because artificial intelligence is not going to lead a project for us. So I think we should embrace it and take advantage of what it can do for us. I am not afraid of artificial intelligence coming into a change management or project management in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I'm looking forward to it. So that's my short piece on that.
I'll just say that AI has a seat on my project team every time.
Yes. Hallelujah.
So I embrace it as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would say from the PMO, so that we say in the PMO GA, so PMO is a service provider. So AI is a technology like we have, so I have some years in the market. So I have seen a lot of technology or trends replacing something. For example, in IT, there was one time that 4th generation language will replace all the software developers because the 4th generation language was easy enough for people to develop their own applications. That never happened. We still have software developers in corporation. So I started in 1978. So I would say by year Y2K, so we don't need people because the computer, they're going to be smart enough that you only need to talk to them and they will develop the software for you, the solution. We still have analysts, software developer, it's still the same. The same happened with before AI now. So in the 80s, so we talk about expert systems. That was basically the same. So from the PMO's perspective, so we need to take technology and use it for the well-being of the corporation. How can other organizations, other departments, other units can leverage on these technologies? And so you're going to be the promoter of this technology to have a more efficient organization. So that's what we need to embrace. As a project manager, so we do a lot of manual tasks or repetitive tasks that can be easily automated. So we need to embrace technologies and use AI for that. Replacing, as Jennie was saying, so it's going to be very rare that a machine replace a human. So we are the builder of the machine, so that won't happen. It will happen for those that don't develop Jennie was saying about the human aspects of a lot of emotional intelligence. You need to be a better leader. You need to be a better business thinker to help your organization move forward. So if you do that, so you don't have any fear about replacement and those things. But from the PMO, so we should be the catalyst for the corporation embracing these changes.
Okay. I think you all said the same thing about the importance of the human dynamics and being able to be vulnerable and be have humility, as Jennie was saying. These are going to take us a long way, and AI will not replace those. Yeah. Does anybody want to pitch in and add to what has been said, or any questions for the panelists?
Joe, if I can, sorry, interrupting someone.
No,
just
keep going.
to add my 2 cents, this is a point that came up also in our event 2 days ago about how we see AI interact in our day-to-day life. It came back that AI is a tools that we are going to use for our future. So it's not a race against the machine, but it's a race with the machine. So AI is not going to replace us. It's just a tool that we need to learn how to leverage for our day-to-day activities. This is just a point that came up 2 days ago. I just want to bring to everyone as a extra point, extra information, extra everything. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Luca. Yeah, absolutely. David Mulligan, you had some comments and you did agree with Jason and Jennie. Do you want to grab the mic and tell us anything about these subtopics? So far, we spent the time, and I know we're at the end of the hour. We spent the time looking at the strategy and corporate culture, how they intersect, and some very interesting pieces on bridging the gap between corporate strategies and existing organizational cultures.
So, Joe, we are at the time, so I will take at this point to give our virtual round of applause to our fantastic panelists and the facilitator for making today's event a memorable experience. Thank you very much. And a quick announcement to mark on your calendar. And initially, my introduction, I mentioned about the PMO International Day. Next year will be on May 14th. So be ready. Will be a lot of activities. Stay tuned. A lot of fun is on the way. And that's it for today. I think we can wrap up for today and close it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Have
guys.
a wonderful
Thank
day.
you.
Be safe.
Thank you.
Who joined us at 4:30 a.m. and another crazy time. We really appreciate you coming and learning from us and with us. And of course, one more time, Dr. Tony, Jason, Jennie, thank you for sharing your knowledge. I learned a lot from you and hope to see you again in our future events. Thank you all.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.